Okay, so this video is on public speaking and how we love public speaking. I'm doing this video in my car. It's the first day and I'm batching them. I've done several days of research, so many days of research, and you have to batch your videos. That's the way you can make more videos quickly. So you batch them and then obviously edit them into different videos. So my first video was going to be on communication. This may well turn out to be my first video. Problem is, my research said people like videos when you do them outside more. Why is he in his car? Well, because I was outside and the flies, which I never factored in, they just wouldn't leave me alone. So public speaking, what I'm doing to you now, speaking to you in the camera. Sorry if I haven't looked at the camera. Oh, let me say, I'm Sean, by the way. It's a new channel for me. This may be my first or second video. I've literally uploaded no videos at this point in time. So me speaking to you, is some of the first video content that I'm making. It's going to be on public speaking. The channel's called Real Talk with Sean. Real talk is a slang term, essentially, if you look on the Urban Dictionary, and it's just honesty and sincerity about usually serious issues. Real talk, you know? So on this issue of real talk, I'm going to keep it real with you. People are pissing themselves when it comes to public speaking. You are probably watching this because you've researched, you've got something coming up and you need to do some public speaking. I've been there, everybody's been there. So we go on YouTube now and we research and we say, well, this person's speaking well. Maybe they know what they're talking about. And who knows, maybe I do. I've done a lot of public speaking. I've done a lot of sales presentations and I've done those public speaking engagements that we all have to do in life. I've stood up at my wedding and I've given a speech. I've stood up, as I say, in sales presentations and given a speech. My sister sadly passed away last year and I did a eulogy at her funeral. So there's all different types of public speaking that you have to do. Some are going to be serious, like a funeral, like I just said. Some people will be jovial and they have a jocular element to their funeral eulogy. Mine wasn't, and most people's won't be because it's a somber occasion. My sister passed away sadly, fairly young age, just slightly younger than me, so 44 years old, 2 children, and she passed away with stage 4 cancer. So I wasn't really feeling too jovial or jocular on that occasion. But there will be other occasions, for instance, my wedding day, and I was feeling jovial. I was feeling merry. I've just got married. So there's going to be occasions where you do inject, there's an injection of humor, there's an injection of comedy. There's going to be those occasions, and you have to have some comical flair to you. A sales presentation, for instance, you're conveying information, but you have to ask good questions. So you have to have active listening. So it's another communication skill which has to be refined, but it's all public speaking. If I'm selling you something, which I'm not doing on this video, don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to buy anything. But if I am selling you something, I'm going to ask you questions because I need to know what it is that you need. If I don't know what you need, I can't really sell you something. So part of the communication and the public speaking is to ask good questions. If I'm selling videos on YouTube, for instance, I would say to you, what do you need videos for on YouTube? And where are you going to use these videos on YouTube? And how long have you been making videos on YouTube? And what's your budget to make these videos on YouTube? I'm going to be asking you questions so I can glean and hone down what product or what service I can sell to you. So it's communication, it's public speaking. Now, a eulogy, for instance, at a funeral, maybe some of you are watching this because you have to give a eulogy or because you have to speak at someone's funeral. It could be a friend, it could be a family member. Of course, the key is practice beforehand. Any form of communication, public speaking, verbal communication. If you're going to speak verbally in front of people, like what I'm doing to you now, I'm speaking to you through this camera. So this is person-to-person speaking. Could be 50 people, it could be one person. It's me speaking to you verbally, public speaking. Anytime you do that, you obviously never, and believe me when I say this to you, you never want to improvise. Never, especially something as serious as a funeral. It's a somber occasion and people are going to feel disrespected and like you're disrespecting the occasion if you haven't prepared your material beforehand. Now, you can go there and read it off of a piece of paper. That's absolutely fine. You can have pointer cards, that says, oh, now talk about this and when you met person and, so on and so on. But ideally, you want to have the information in your mind. And as I said on the previous video, if you've watched it, or maybe I'll upload it in the future in terms of communication, if you're in your head, you're dead. So you don't want to be in your head. You don't want to be reading from a piece of paper. And I knew this person so well from school, it's going to sound wooden. And wooden is never good. That's not disrespectful, though. Many people can't memorize information. The script for this video that's taken me over 3 or 4 days to actually memorize, this is all part of the script. Yeah, I've done a Trump here and there, and I've sort of went off piste, and I've added a few little elements, but essentially there's a structure to this, a script that I've memorized. I haven't read off of this piece of paper. When you're doing a eulogy, it's different from when you're doing a wedding. At a wedding, you have to have an injection of comedy and show some natural flair and charisma, because that's going to sound wooden. You're just going to scroll on. So what you have to do is memorize the information beforehand. Pointers are fine on pieces of card, and you flip them over in a sales presentation with a projector. Flip the cards over, that's fine. But I would tell you, if you want to go from fine to extraordinary, and of course you want to go to extraordinary, the extraordinary life is far more wonderful than the ordinary life. So you want to go to extraordinary. How do you go to extraordinary? You do the things that ordinary people aren't prepared to do. Ordinary people are not prepared to spend 2 or 3 days walking around practicing beforehand, practicing in the mirror. They wake up and they practice in the mirror. They go to open spaces. They talk out loud like this to the camera, and they practice the information beforehand. That's what winners do. That's what somebodies do. That's what the extraordinary winners in life do. The people who do extraordinary things in terms of public speaking, they've practiced beforehand. Don't let them fool you and pretend. But when I've delivered a speech and it's went down extraordinarily well, I didn't just wing it. I didn't just improvise. I had it prepared, and then I went one step further. And this is the step that's going to, the separation between sort of the 90% and the 10%. The extra 10% that's going to get you right to the top is memorizing the information beforehand. Practice, practice, practice. Nothing can make up for practice. I'm telling you, someone can have a mediocre script, a mediocre speech, but they deliver that speech so superbly well. Their aura, their body language, their confidence. They know the information off by heart because they've practiced this extensively beforehand. That person is going to go down well. That person is going to be remembered, because I can tell you, when you do a speech, the words that you say are of far less relevance than your demeanor, your confidence, your delivery. Most people on every speech that I've ever seen, I don't actually remember. I know if it's a good or bad speech, and I know this from their delivery, from how they've delivered the speech, I know that. But in terms of what they actually said, maybe there's a few key pieces of information that I remember, maybe, but mostly I remember their body language. I remember, how they delivered the speech. And if they delivered a good speech, it's usually because they've memorized the material beforehand. Anything you do in life, if you memorize the material beforehand, you're going to deliver and perform so much more effectively than you would if you just go there and you improvise. Improvisation is absolutely ruinous to top class performance. You cannot improvise. There cannot be any improvisation. This is not a theatrical performance where you go there and you improvise and the class tutor or the stage manager says, improvise this line for me, I want to see how this works. No, a speech is not improvisation. A speech is conveying information. A eulogy, you want to be conveying your respects. You want to be highlighting the achievements of the person. It's information that's packaged beforehand, and then you're going to speak it publicly. So practice beforehand, and you'll come off flawlessly. If you've taken notes this far, and if you've watched this far, as I say, it's a new channel for me. Please subscribe, please like. That will help me make more videos, touch more people and help more people, because public speaking is one of those things. It's really going to help you. Could be an interview, could be a eulogy, could be a wedding. It could be something to do with, as I say, a sales presentation. It could just be, for instance, you want to have more confidence going up to speak to people, let's say in a romantic fashion. Before I got married, obviously I was single, and I had confidence to go up and speak to the woman that I wanted to be with, because I was, not necessarily because I practiced beforehand, like lines, how your legs look so wonderful and all these sorts of, cheap lines that women don't like, but just to practice to say, hi, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? How's it going today? Or, it's good to see you. I've never been here before. Have you been here before? You just practice those very, they're humdrum and they are sort of run of the mill openers, but those just very basic intros to where the woman, in this instance that we're talking about, she's going to make up her mind in the first 5 seconds. If you approach her respectfully and with some form of confidence, and you've rehearsed beforehand in the way that we just discussed, just to say, how are you today? I've never seen you here before. How are you today? Essentially, you'll just be saying, how are you today? How's it going? Very small openers that you said beforehand. Maybe you said them in the mirror beforehand. Maybe you've said them badly beforehand. And that's a great way to learn. Absolutely, you have to fail. I'm starting this new channel, and I know people are going to watch this, about 5 people. But I'm going to persevere. I'm going to be determined and keep, and continue onwards and continue making content, because failing is how you're going to improve. So public speaking is just the same. That would be a key for all of life. Failing is how you improve. So in public speaking, fail a few times, and in failure, you'll learn, well, that sort of didn't work on that occasion. Maybe I should try it differently on the next occasion. And then when you find on the next occasion that what you've tried works, then you keep that format, you keep that formula, and then you do some adaptation to improve upon a winning formula. Public speaking is absolutely the same. When you're doing your edits for a eulogy or your wedding speech, when you're saying it out loud, you must say, in terms of public speaking, you must say whatever it is you're going to say publicly, you must say it beforehand. You must say it beforehand out loud. Say it to yourself in the mirror many times, not once or twice. I'm talking 50, 60, 80 times. Of course, you're saying, oh, why would I want to do that? Because you want to perform extraordinarily well. Now, to be extraordinary, you have to do things beyond the ordinary. Just what I said earlier. And that means practicing over and over and over. Think about a pianist. How many times do you think they've practiced that piece before they play it publicly? I can tell you, it's hundreds to thousands of times. They would never, in a million lifetimes, to be a virtuoso, to be extraordinary, they would never just turn up with the piece of music on a piece of paper that they've never played before and just play. Because they're going to bomb. They're going to be like the 90% who can't be bothered, who can't, go that extra mile to learn beforehand, to practice beforehand. So that's what you have to do. To be extraordinary, you have to practice beforehand. And in terms of public speaking, we talked about a pianist. A pianist will play beforehand. Public speaking is speaking loudly in front of the public. So you must speak loudly to yourself before you speak to the public. Before. Not on the day, not the next day. I've got someone coming over here, so I'll probably pause and come back to it.
It's resident parking only.
Before, not on the day, not the next day. I've got someone coming over here, so I'll probably pause and come back to it.
It's resident parking only here, you know it, don't you?
No, I don't know that.
The notice just up there to your right.
Okay, thank you very much for pointing.